And for this, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Armstorff. Elizabeth, or Lizzie, is a project manager for market research, innovation and technology transfer at DESI in Hamburg. And Lizzie, I hand over to you. Tell us all about this startup school that we've heard about a few times now. Welcome, Lizzie.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Marilyn. I'm Lizzie Harmsdorf. I work on the CAROTS project, and I was part of the team that launched the first ever startup school for scientific service companies. Let me take a moment to tell you the story of the startup school before I hand over to our CEO coaches and two of our students, Solange and Ahmet. Okay. So it all began last year with the need to further extend this emerging market, which you've heard Ron speak about earlier. We wanted to help found new scientific service companies in the European innovation ecosystem. So from March to June, we set up a program that helped with knowledge transfer, networking, coaching, and helped these new scientific companies to found. We already knew as a team a lot about the business model, the financing solutions available, and we had formed this network of CEOs via the Nixon network that Anna spoke about. So we recruited 6 CEOs alongside an entrepreneurial e-learning team. And through a European-wide advertising campaign, we attracted 48 applications. And of these 48, we awarded 11 places to the best business ideas. And of these 11, they were PhD students, scientific staff, postdocs. A third of them were women, and they came from countries such as Sweden, Estonia, Switzerland, Germany, and Finland. And all of these students were at different stages of their entrepreneurial journey. And we'll hear a bit more from Solange and Ahmet shortly about their first-hand experiences. So what did we do? In total, we delivered 5 webinars in entrepreneurial mindset, business model canvas, financial management, marketing, and an additional module in storytelling. Each of our students received 2 one-on-one coaching sessions with their CEO. And at the end of the school, the students had to pitch their business idea to a panel. So exciting stuff. To date, we already have 1 team that has founded, and this is Ahmet and Scattering, and we have 4 more in the pipeline. I think with everybody involved, everybody felt it was a great learning experience, and students got direct access to CEOs, and they learned the top tips on what to do and what not to do. So let's take a quick look at these graduates. We're really excited for them and their entrepreneurial journey this year and next year. And we wait in anticipation for the next CAROTS Startup School. I'll hand back over to you, Marilyn.
Thank you, Lizzie. Yeah, excellent. This is, well, that sounds very exciting. So it is, we will actually now invite 2 of the coaches that participated in the startup school and two entrepreneurs who benefited from the startup school adventure. So let me introduce our 4 next speakers. It is my pleasure to welcome Andrew Bill, the Chief Scientific Officer at Finden, Solange Sanauya, the CEO of Crispy AI, Bernard Hess, CEO of Exploration, and Hamet Bahadir Yildiz, the CEO of Scattering. Welcome to the 4 of you. Okay, we are in the next 20 minutes or so. We want to understand what happened in this startup school and whether it has been a game changer for you two, Solange and Hamet. But before we get to that, Bernard, can I start with you? You were one of the CEO in the school. So how was it? Tell us about your experience there, and why was this startup school slightly different from any other startup school that you know of?
Yes. So for me, it felt like actually I moved back in time, because we received the same questions that we had in mind when we started our company about 5 years ago. And so we could discuss with them and share our insights about how to deal with access to synchrotron or large-scale facilities, with this administration stuff around forming a company, how to find also stuff. And I think the most critical insight we discussed was how to get customers and how to get let's say into new business, and how to convince our industries that we are targeting to work with us, because I think that this model of scientific service providers is still, as we already heard today, is not let's say well known by our potential clients. And so we had to do some work in introducing ourselves there, and yeah, making us visible, and to convince them that they have benefit through us. So what's the value proposition and how to formulate this? And I think that was very, I saw, like, if I had this kind of discussions 5 years ago, we were a bit faster by now. So, but it's still nice that other younger companies can, I think, benefit from our insights there. And also for us, it was very interesting to hear these questions, and also great ideas by very inspiring people, I would say. And well, I think the difference, to answer your question, is I think that we were very specific with what we could share and we could discuss, which is a bit different from other startup school, I think. And I think, to me, the most amazing outcome of it was that we have Ahmed now here together with Peter, who actually started his company Scatterin. And this is clearly an highlight of this. And actually, I'm quite looking forward to collaborate and work with him in the future.
Fantastic. So it's not only coaching; it's a partnership, maybe that that was born in the startup school. Andy, can I turn to you? You were also a coach in the startup school. So from your perspective, what were the main aspects of your own experience with Finland that you wanted to share with Solange? I think that you trained her, right? You coached her.
Yes. We were lucky to have Solange with her great idea and to work with her on trying to develop it. To answer your question, I think, as Bernard also kind of highlighted, having this or doing this exercise was very, very beneficial, not only for us as a refresher to actually what we went through, but then also to point out where we had problems trying to get traction, let's say, as a company. And then also able to pass that on to not just Solange and some of the other people we coach, but I think within the wider CAROTS community. So I think there are lots of key issues, or lots of questions, of course, that anybody with a startup company has. Questions particularly, I think, relevant to Solange was IP. At what point do you need to put into place, intellectual property protection? Is this a key element to starting up a company? Or is it something that can wait, if you like? And I think that was something that, we also had discussions about when we started up. And of course, CAROTS allows you to put it totally into context. If it doesn't necessarily help to answer that question from our perspective or from Solange's perspective, if you're a startup company, because I think it's very specific to what you're trying to do. But I think that, and then the wider context of, I think Bernard also touched on this, is customers. How do you get customers? How do you start up your company? And revenue streams. These are all things, actually, when we started up, we didn't really realize. Well, it's difficult. You have some ideas as to how you think you will generate business, but actually what you often find is that there isn't, and in fact it's important that there isn't one or two mechanisms. In fact, you have to engage quite broadly. So you've got to have very diverse income streams. As I said, I think a key thing for us was realizing that actually we found sometimes bespoke solutions to this income problem. And I think, a key element or key take-home message is if you're quite flexible, and I think that's a good thing about small businesses, they can be flexible and quite agile, able to respond quite quickly, you can often find solutions and hopefully, grow the business.
That's good. It raises a number of questions. So, and that I have a few questions for you and Bernard, but I'll just hold a little longer before addressing them to you, because we'd like now to hear from Solange and Hamed. So you were both beneficiaries of the startup program and the startup school program, I should say. And so if you both imagine that in the audience today you have potential partners and who knows, maybe investors, can you present both your company like in some kind of elevator pitch, just explaining what it is about, the solutions you offer, what you're looking for, and how you see the future of your companies? You have just 2-3 minutes to do that. And Solange, I will invite you to start. So I know you have a few slides, so we can show them on the screen. And I hand over to you, Solange. Go ahead. Convince us.
Hi. So I will share. It's only one slide.
Okay.
Is easy. Do you see it?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Very fine. Wait, I cannot see it fully. So, yeah, what's about my company? It's not existing yet, but our scientific services company is called Crispy AI, and it's in the initial stages of founding. We are mainly based in Switzerland, and one team member is in France. So what is it about? What is the context of our service proposition? We talk about consumers, food consumers. They want healthy food, but it should also taste great. And it can be hard for food companies to provide a satisfying crispy product while meeting an acceptable price, sustainability standards, and reducing food waste. And there is no practical, cheap, and accurate method to measure crispiness during development and production. So we support quality, R&D, and production managers with a measurement method that gives a clear statement for in-out quality checks of food crispiness. How we do that? First, we optimize how food, such as chips, is crushed with machine to collect the crushing force, like in the mouth, and the audio data, like in the ears of humans. Then we use artificial intelligence to sort the data into crispiness levels that predict consumer sensations. And this methodology can be also applied to measure other food, cosmetics, and medical product properties, or to understand and sort any complex data. For example, for maintenance with predictions of machine failure, or for diagnosis in patient sicknesses. So the application is very broad. Just now we focus with our first customer on chips, which is a worst case scenario because of the high variability of each potato type and time in the year, during the year and season. So here is really a challenge, and we are pretty confident that we can help here. Moreover, I really still enjoy after years of crushing samples. Yeah, the breaking behavior, the zigzags in curves, and the noise is really fun. So what we are looking now is for partnerships, for customers. And I know that what helps is to tell future customers that we already had customers. It's what they asked for. Did it work? Who you work with? So this is like what I'm looking for first.
The code is very clear. So this is good. What was your, where did you enjoy the Startup School program? How did it help you?
I enjoyed it a lot, and it gave me steps to follow and push a bit, because during all the daily work, it's hard sometimes to find the time to think deeply about your business idea and to really go into it. So I learned also a lot from the others' experiences. There were several coaches and coaches exchanging their ideas and their problems and how they did it. And in particular, I would like to thank the CAROTS team and my coaches, Simon and Andy, for their very good advice for our business idea, business model, how to implement. And also we discussed several ways to grow and fall. And this is like an up and down process. So I know I'm confident, and I will try, error, continue. Another thing which I really loved is the storytelling workshop, because we could produce a short advertisement movie, train how to formulate simply, what we want to explain to customers or other people.
Excellent. Solange, we do wish you the best with Crispy AI, because that sounds like a very, very good idea and proof of concept. Hamed, your Scattering, your company is actually formed, right? It's been incorporated into a company, so you're slightly more advanced. But tell us all about your idea, your solutions, your team, and what you're looking for. Hamed, in 2 minutes, tell us all about Scattering.
Yes, Solange, could you please close the screen share? So
Yes, sorry.
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Go ahead, Hamed.
Yes, is it visible now?
Yes.
To everyone? Great. We are Scattering, Stockholm-based startup spun out from research at KTH, Royal Institute of Technology. We have been officially founded last July, like you said, like you mentioned. And in Scattering, we deal with engineering materials, processes, and components. Scattering helps industry use world's most powerful microscopes and make understanding-driven innovations in materials and processes possible. We need to understand and quantify structural changes in materials during and after production in service. However, inefficient analysis methods and data analysis protocols hinder rapid progress and bringing innovations to market. In Scattering, we offer streamlined access to the synchrotron X-ray and neutron facilities to develop, test, and validate products in representative process and service conditions. And we do this in 4 adjustable steps, starting from defining the problem. For example, our industrial partner may want to know at which state of their process they get the unwanted phase so that they can tune the process if we work together on this and show them when. Or they may need to understand how does structure of their material evolves during service. We then choose the most suitable solution, neutrons, X-rays, or maybe we can solve the problem at lab. We also help with preparations, including sample and sample environment, for example. We perform the measurements, and finally, we do the analysis and interpretation of the data. For specific cases, we can do all 4 steps within 1 to 3 months of period. My name is Ahmet Bahadır Yıldız. I am the CEO of Scattering, and our co-founder and CSO is Peter Hestrom. And we will be happy to discuss the possibilities and, of course, the challenges if you reach us. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamed. Quick question for you first, and then to the whole panel. Hamed, you founded your company after you went through the Startup School program. How did it help you? Or did it actually help you?
Yeah, it did definitely, we would say. So first of all, we haven't met any scientific service company before. It was the first time we met and saw how things can it be if we do it correct. And our coach was Bernhard, and he has mentioned like he wish they had this chance before, and we agree. Thanks to coaching and CAROTS Startup School, we had a good background, we get the initial kick, and we possibly hinder the mistakes that we might have do during the process and in the near future. So I would say, I think we saved some months and probably years of experience thanks to the Startup School. And yeah, one more thing is like, it was really in detail. It includes anything that we need, from finding customer, being customer and need oriented, to also some practicals like cash flow, for example, the things that you normally don't think that much in the very beginning. So it was very useful for us.
Thank you. And so if any of you in the audience are entrepreneur, or if you know of any entrepreneurs who might be interested in the startup school, do reach out to the project team. And you're also very welcome to ask questions to these four presenters through the chat to the Q&A if you'd like to. But I do have a question for you all. Do you think there is a recipe for success for scientific service companies? Is there, or do you think that because of the speciality or the level of expertise or the area of expertise of these companies, or even the regions they're located in, make the coaching, the personal coaching essential? But is there some ingredients or some recommendations that you can give here? Would like to go first. Solange, go ahead.
For me, one thing is always ask the user first, so you can always profit from their real needs and really offer what help them and evaluate with them if they would buy or not at the end. And when it's a B2B relationship, as in our case, then we can call even sometimes the CEO of tiny companies because they are all only human. So yeah, train, and then one step after the other, it will be easier. And this also we discussed with Andy, like being natural and showing and asking. It's not so complicated, but first try it. It's this hurdle that you need first to cross.
Yeah, and
take the phone.
Andy, Bernard, would you have been able to train any potential or future scientific service company?
So my experience, I think, of this school is that actually I think there are elements that are very underpinning, and I think that was actually covered well by the CAROTS School, and I think this gives people a framework. But there's certainly regional variations, and even, for example, depending on how you want to start up. So certainly, as there are a lot of academic ties with a lot of the CEOs or the new CEOs, there are some universities that I think are better at spinning out activities than others. And I think this also will depend a bit on the region as to the sort of level of support you can get for such activities. So I think my take-home message would be, yes, there are core elements that's particularly covered well by CAROTS. And I think that there are other aspects, other dimensions, which might mean that there are more opportunities for some, depending on where you are from.
Bernard, do you want to come in on that question? Would you have trained any future company? Is there like a structure, a program that you can actually apply across the board?
Well, I think yes and no. So I think as Andrew said, so there are some general things that may apply for all companies, but I think it's good that we were focusing on this scientific service providers that are basically using this large scale research facilities, because I think in the end it's quite a specific niche, and the challenges we have as scientific service company is also different to other startups that have other, let's say, offerings. But I think the most important things, and the most important message is you have to try, and then you have to try harder and again and so on. And this is something that may apply for all kind of startups.
Very good. I want to also ask you, to the four of you, what do you need to scale up your company or to launch it in the case of Solange? But Finden and Exploration are already pretty well established, but there are probably some growth prospects. So what do you think a scientific service company need to scale up beyond the Startup School program? Because we can also look at your cases, Finden and Exploration. I mean, in the back of my head, we're talking about services here, not a product. So can an SSC become a unicorn one day? Who wants to go?
Andy, I can start if you like. I think, as you highlighted, I mean, as as a scientific service provider, we are generally trading on our expertise, and therefore we're a bit limited in terms of resource. As you say, we don't have a product that necessarily scales. Where we've been able to sort of scale up is that actually, well, I think availability of talent is critical here. So in fact, we've almost sort of done it the other way round, is that we've actually found some high quality talent, employed them, and then they've opened up opportunities. And I think what's attractive for them to be part of a company like Finland is that we are an SME, so they get exposure across the board. So they're not just turning a handle, let's say, providing solutions to a scientific problem, but they're also learning about pitching to clients, writing proposals. This is another key thing. One of the key messages we have in the booklet accompanying these activities is that, you know, registering for national and international funding schemes is critical. And of course, particularly with the European Union, there's a lot of focus on supporting SMEs. So of course, if you look, I think the EU has a statistic that says something like 99% of employees are working with SMEs. So effectively, it's you know, what we're doing now is actually more typical of the working life environment than what, say, working for big companies like. So I think, you know, for us, scalability comes with kind of having the expertise, accessibility to expertise and funding. But I think in order to scale, and in fact, something we're trying to do now, we are trying to, you know, productize some of the stuff we're doing. So that could be software, it could be expertise that's translated into a product that we can scale. So I think that may not be something that works for everybody. We've certainly seen scientific service companies in the past just scale with the amount of provision that and expertise they can provide across a particular, I suppose, sector of the business.
All right, we heard from Solange what she needs to get started. What about you, Bernard or Hamed? What do you need to scale up exploration of scattering? In very short comment, please.
Maybe from us.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead, Bernard.
Okay, so I think from our perspective, it's there's sometimes on the path there's opportunities, and you have to realize that there are actually opportunities, and then you have to grab them. And I think this is how we scaled. I think so. There was a chance of new business opportunities, and we took them. We tried to then focus on these new opportunities. And also, same as Andre said, so we hired new staff and they brought in new expertise and so on. I don't think that the scientific service provider will become a unicorn, to be honest, but I think there's room for growth. And in the very beginning, in our first year, we had a discussion with a venture capitalist, and he said, basically, there's no way that we will receive money from them because we're providing service and not a product, and there's no scalability. I think they are mistaken, because I think there is some degree of scalability, and there's for sure potential for growth. But I think we do it our own now on a slow but very steady, sustainable rate.
Hamed, do you want to come in before we conclude?
Yes, shortly. So I'm not in a position to give advice, but I can mention what will we do in scattering. So we first started with our, let's say, so-called early adopters, and now applying for funding. So which means we are funding dependent, and it gives more responsibility for scaling up, let's say. So we will be working on our products and offerings and pricing, at the same time working on projects. And also we will have the time to develop our backend, our software product. And then we are hoping there will be right time in the near future to scale up for us as well.
Thank you, Hamed. I just have one final question for you, Andy. I think you were mandated by the CAROTS project to tell us what's going to be the future of the startup school. So what is it going to be?
Well, I think we were all impressed with, you know, the first efforts as far as CAROTS were concerned. So currently now discussions are ongoing about CAROTS 2. So we're hopeful that something will be running again next year. And one thing I should mention is that a few of the CEOs from this initiative are in the process of setting up a company to help startups get going. So sort of administrative headaches, you know, discussions around IP, for example, you know, we can provide that additional support which I think will accelerate the growth of these, or at least getting going with some of these initiatives and ideas that these very bright, smart people are coming to us to discuss about.
Excellent. So we look forward to hearing more about this new company, and I'm sure we'll have other occasions to do so. I'd like to thank you, the four of us, and we will now actually turn to the panel discussion. Where we will discuss the role of industrial R&D in innovation ecosystems, and to let the five next speakers time to join us. We'll just show you a very short video that is actually a presentation of Exploration, Bernard's company, and then when we'll be back, we'll welcome our five next speakers. So bear with us, we'll see you in just a minute. Thank you.